Speech sound disorder is a disorder that affects the way that children's speech sounds. It can range from mild to severe, with children's speech sounding anywhere from just a little immature to completely unintelligible. It's an umbrella term that encompasses both articulation disorders, where a child may have difficulty saying one sound or multiple sounds, so sounds like s or sh may become sh, and also phonological disorders, where children use predictable patterns to simplify their speech. This may look like sounds at the back of the mouth, like k and g, being produced at the front of the mouth, so they become t and d. So a word like cookie becomes tutti. They could also leave off the sound at the end of words or at the beginning of words, so a word like cup may become up or k. And they may simplify clusters in words, so a word like string could become ting. Of course, there are developmental norms. No child begins speaking and immediately speaks perfectly with no errors. But if you notice that your child is having real difficulty saying some sounds, if their speech maybe seems younger than that of their peers, or if strangers or even family members have a difficult time understanding your child, then they may have speech sound disorder, and you should seek the advice of a speech and language therapist. There's often no known cause for speech sound disorder. Sometimes there may be a family history of having speech issues. There may be a neurological impairment or a structural issue like a cleft palate, or the child may have a history of middle ear infections. But for most of the cases that we work with, we simply don't know why speech sound disorder occurs. Children with speech sound disorders are often frustrated around communication. They may be adamant that, "That's what I said," or even have huge temper tantrums when they're misunderstood. These children know what they're trying to say, and they think that they're saying it correctly, and they really don't understand why nobody else understands them. One of the things that I often see when I'm working with children with speech sound disorders is a real lack of self-awareness, of simply not realizing that how they say a sound or word is really different to how everybody else says that same sound or word. One of the tools that I use to target self-awareness in children with speech sound disorders is the Forbrain. Forbrain is a wireless altered auditory feedback device, and when we wear it, we can hear ourselves slightly louder, but in real time, thanks to the use of the microphone, the speech filter, and bone conduction. When children lack self-awareness, sometimes hearing themselves slightly louder can really make all the difference. And once a child is more aware of their own speech, it's easier to help them to correct it. When I introduce the Forbrain for the first time in a session, I first like to show the child how it looks on me. So I'll place it on my head and I'll show them how it looks before I help them to place it on their head. When they're wearing it for the first time, I like to make sure to keep the volume turned down really low so that it's not overwhelming for them. I also like to have a mirror present so that they can see themselves, because they often think that they look really cool and they're really excited to see how they look. When I'm using the Forbrain in speech and language therapy sessions, I just do the typical activities that I would do with any child with speech sound disorder, but just include the Forbrain. If I'm doing an activity like auditory discrimination, where I want the child to be listening to my voice, I could have the child wear the Forbrain, but have the microphone turned towards me. But for every other activity, I want the child to be listening to their own voice, so I'll have them wear the Forbrain in their traditional sense. We can use it for things like playing games, for doing flashcards, for reading stories, for playing with toys, really anything. I'll aim to keep it on for about 10 minutes per session, or for as long as the child wants to keep it on for. It can also be beneficial for the child to have access to the Forbrain outside of speech and language therapy sessions. If you're wanting to try use the Forbrain at home, you could start by trying it for 10 minutes a day for targeted speech practice. You could start with something straightforward like using flashcards, but I recommend pairing them with a game so that the child remains motivated to participate. If the child is a little bit wary about wearing the Forbrain, you can turn that into a game too and take turns wearing it together. In using the Forbrain in my practice as a speech and language therapist, I've seen quicker progress than I had expected for children with speech sound disorders, thanks to the increase in self-awareness. I've seen a lot of light bulb moments where children suddenly realized that how they thought they had been saying something was not at all how they had been saying it. I've also seen that children are more motivated to participate because they like wearing the Forbrain. They think that their voice sounds nice when they wear it, and they feel really cool and special. Forbrain will not replace the work that a speech and language therapist does, but it can definitely help to enhance it.